Hey, good morning. Hey, good afternoon. Hey, good evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast, the Boys Edition.
Hanging with the boys.
Aw, yeah, all dudes all day for the next hour. So,
Jack dudes.
jacked dudes being guy. All right, we're done here.
Oh, I didn't even get to say respectable muscles. Okay.
No, next time.
Next time, baby.
Our lovely co-host Kaylee Horowitz is off in New York seeing the big lights and being fancy and whatnot. But I do have Andy Gibby Gibson with me.
She's actually on a secret mission. She's gone back in time to kill Mecha Hitler.
Well, if you tell people about it, it's not secret anymore.
Yeah, but like, assumedly, I have to record it now because by the time she kills Mecha Hitler, he won't have existed, and then we'll be in a whole paradox. So it's for posterity, Bo.
But then you would have never recorded it. Gibby.
Damn, you're good. You're good. Okay.
No, time travel plots are just stupid.
What a fitting segue that we're not doing immediately.
Nope. And not at all fitting. So I have a real world thing to whine about today.
Show me your best whinging. Show me your best.
I don't know what that
bitching
word
and-
means, so I'm just gonna keep talking.
Keep bitching, keep complaining. I want to hear it, baby.
Elon Musk. First shout out on the pod. Elon Musk.
Boo!
First boo of Elon Musk on the pod. Make it
The
history.
first of many.
Has decided that he doesn't want to buy Twitter anymore. And I was listening to the news, and they were like, "Yeah, dude, he was good for $44 billion, and now he's like, there are too many bots on Twitter, and he doesn't want it anymore." I'm like, hold on, this dude can have no real money and therefore pay no taxes. All of a sudden have 44 billion real dollars, and that's just good. Sign all the documents, do all the shit, make Twitter look like shit for basically a half a year.
Yeah.
And then say, oh, wait, there are too many bots. It's too hard. Barring that Twitter is like, hey, by the way, only about 5% of total Twitter users are bots. And you could just be like, no, it's not. They're like, okay, here's the algorithm that we use to find that out. And then then he's like, no, it's not. And then they're like, okay, here's our raw data. You're a science guy, or you claim to be. Do your own meta-analysis. You're like, nope, you're lying. There's too many bots. I don't want it anymore. It's like, what? You shouldn't be. Why can you do that?
Well, Bo, it's not like somebody would do something like, say they're going to get invested into something which attracts a lot of investors, and then also you go and buy a lot of the stock in the company and see the value of the company and the stock go up exponentially, and then maybe sell off a bunch of the stock and then say, actually, I'm not going to. He wouldn't do that. But
here's
that's
the
not
thing,
the Elon
Gibby.
we know, right?
Him trying to pull out has only depreciated Twitter's stock. So now Twitter stock is going down, and Tesla stock is going down because Elon Musk already flooded the market with Tesla stock to get the aforementioned 44 billion real dollars. And he's just like, no, I'm good.
How fitting for the first time in like half a year when it's been just the boys, it immediately goes to stocks and economics. And
We gotta
shit.
get the stocks, dude. We gotta make money moves, dude.
Gotta pump those numbers up, kid. Those are rookie numbers.
Those are rookie numbers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We should have watched Wolf of Wall Street.
We will future episode and talking about the Sigma grind set culture and the movies that unintentionally inspired it.
I'll press my suit.
We'll talk about that at another time. But I think you're not considering something about Elon. He worked very, very hard to be born into a family that owned emerald mines in Africa during apartheid.
Isn't that like the most depressing thing to find out?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's the only thing he made his money from. I'm saying it's still a big thing he
But
made
also,
a lot of his inheritance from.
It's like somebody's like, Yeah, I climbed this giant mountain yesterday, right? Got up early, got up on the peak, saw the sunrise and
Yeah.
everything, and you're like, "Oh, that's cool." Yeah, we drove up halfway the night before, and then I used an ATV to get up the other 3 quarters,
Mm-hmm.
and then like napped up there. But and it's like that doesn't take away from you being on top of a mountain, but it's definitely significantly less impressive.
It significantly takes away. Look, the whole thing is that many of the people in power today are the inheritors of generational wealth, and they will spin a lie to you that they did all the hard work and grinding to get it all themselves. You got to look at not only like a person's history of like the actions they've done, but also sometimes like with the people in power. Where'd you get that money from, bud? Small loan of $1 million.
You didn't even invent Tesla. You bought it. You didn't even invent PayPal. You bought it. I'm pissed.
Oh man, there's just like one singular angry Musk stan that's going to be like, I'll show them for daddy. I'll show them. And he's going to try to run through my house in a Tesla, except the Tesla will explode before he even gets here.
The Tesla will touch your front wall and be like, all you hear was this very quiet popping outside of your front door. You're like, what? Is my DoorDash here?
Did a fucking butterfly just hit my door? What the hell was that? Well, have you got your full bitchin' out?
I did.
I got some bitchin' for this kitchen.
Cook it up, baby.
Yeah, it's sizzling. I'm gonna saute this stuff and throw a little garlic in as well. Let me tell you what. I've finished 3 recent seasons of shows in the past 2 weeks or so.
What shows?
I finished the seasons of Stranger Things, The Boys, and The Umbrella Academy.
Are you okay?
Every single one of them disappointed me, so no, I'm not okay, Bo.
I thought you were just going to be like in a bad mental state because those are depressing shows overall.
No, like the thing is that like most of them have kind of, sort of, almost happy end. Not really. It's like most of them are in like the season 3, season 4 state of like, okay, things are bad, but maybe they'll be good with the season 5 finale or whatever. But every single one of them made stupid, cliched choices or just had characters do something completely against their own logic that made no sense outside of the purpose of continuing to make a show so that you can like keep milking the cash cow and everything. And I get it. There are practically no movies out there that are made for purely artistic purposes. Most media that we consume is not made of noble intention. They can do cool things and they can have cool people behind them. Most of the media that you consume is primarily made to make money, and that's fine. I just wish somebody would be brave enough to end a show when it makes some sense, damn it. Sometimes you just need to let something end and be like, bam, stuck the landing, check that out, kiss my ass, you can't do any better. Like Avatar comes in swinging just like 3 seasons, we're done. Eventually we might do a spin-off, but this is good, this is done right here. Breaking Bad was like 5 seasons, we're done. You'll get a spin-off, but it'll be the second best show ever, so we'll make up for it a little bit. The Boys, everybody makes a stupid decision, a la Game of Thrones Season 8, where they all swap their characters so that they don't go kill the big bad, and then they can just keep fighting the big bad, and they let the big bad get away. Umbrella Academy, everybody turns into an idiot, and some people are just so fucking mean in that show that it's like, this feels like bad to watch sometimes.
I think everybody's jealous of Elliot Page's just pure Chad energy.
Elliot Page is a Chad, and we respect him and love him. He was great in season 3 in the most recent Umbrella Academy, and I want to shout him out. they did a great job with the character transitioned as well.
Shout out
And
to Elliot Page.
it made 100% sense, and it like was handled really well. But then people get mean for other reasons based on the plot, and it just turns into like, why is everybody on this show suddenly either an idiot or a jerk?
Right.
Who am I rooting for? And Stranger Things was just like, hey, here's another beloved character that we've introduced on this season. Well, he's dead because we're too afraid to kill any of the main cast, so we just put in emotional stand-ins. Kill the kids, damn it! Don't take that out of context.
Take it out of context. Kill the kids.
Take it out of context if the kid's a jerk.
Who are we killing? I won't do kids. That's a rule. But that rule is negotiable if the kid's a dick.
Kill a main character, damn it. Stop introducing interesting people only to have them last for one season and then make a Funko Pop out of them. Fuck! Damn it. I just needed one. I just needed a win, Bo.
But you're 0 for 3, huh?
I'm 0 for 3 on TV, and now I'm too scared to keep going on any show. So I go back to my safety little my little padded room of YouTube, where I just watch old episodes of like oversimplified history and Brian David Gilbert so that I still feel good when I consume media, because they'll never disappoint me because there's not a long-standing plot there that resolves unsuccessfully.
Right.
Ah!
Oh man. I can make you feel a little bit better though. Let's talk about everything. Let's talk about everywhere.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it all at once.
Yeah!
This is light. Many lives that could have been from entangled for eternity. Not only
I think it's funny that we're talking about the movie that centers around a mom and her daughter without our female identifying friend here.
That is interesting timing, to say the least.
The girls are gone and the boys will talk about mom and daughter issues. Aw, yeah.
At the same time, I feel like it's really important for like us to be more exposed to that kind of media, like because it helps us understand the perspectives of the women in our lives. And if I had a nickel for every time this year that I watched a movie centered around Asian women with figuring out mother and daughter issues, I'd have 2 nickels.
Oh,
which isn't a lot.
Are we going to talk about that immediately? All right, we're talking it off top. Here we go. I think it's weird because you say you'd have 2 nickels. I'd have 3.
Whoa! What are your movies that you've seen there?
We got. Let's go in reverse order, right?
Okay.
We've got Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
We've got Seeing Red.
Yeah. Turning Red. Yeah.
Turning Red. Apologize. We've got Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, you watched Crazy Rich Asians this year?
I did watch Crazy Rich Asians this year. It's pretty solid. But even though it's not a direct mother-daughter relationship, it's still like a mother-daughter-in-law relationship. Yeah. And I'm like, why have I seen this movie 3 times this year? I've seen this movie 3 times in a different dress.
I think we see a lot of those movies recently. One, because, Hollywood is, slowly kicking and screaming, eventually giving people of Asian descent the ability to make more movies for a larger audience.
But here we go. Gibby wants to talk about the crazy shit.
Look, it's everywhere. It's all at once. That's the thing. What I'm saying is, like, I think we're seeing a lot of these stories because a lot of people, like, from the background of being like either an immigrant or the children of immigrants, are getting the platform that they deserve to be able to tell their stories, because studios are realizing, oh shit, we can make money off of this.
Yeah. I think this is something I've experienced, is I want to say the racial component, but that sounds wrong, or that sounds controversial.
As an immigrant, though.
I'm first generation American.
Yeah, I
but
meant like as children of immigrants.
Yeah, I mean specifically as like an African American though. It's
yeah.
So there's a long history of African American art because of African Americans. I'm just gonna start saying black people, whatever. Of black people's place in America. There's a long history of by us for us pieces, right? And because of that, to this day, it feels like when you have a movie with an all black cast, it's like, okay, this is a black people movie. This is, you're right, build for black people, for black people.
Yeah.
I think that's very slowly going away. There are a couple of like even relatively now older pieces that get over that. I think something like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, time has kind of ruined this, but Cosby Show was one of those too.
Yeah, if you look at it like in, you know, in a time capsule of it and try to separate art from rapist.
And then Tyler Perry pushed us back about 30 years, but you know, we're getting past it. Fuck Tyler Perry. Fuck the idea of Tyler Perry. I'm sure he's a fine person. But it's crazy to me that Asian Americans haven't had to go through that same deal. Mostly because I think it's a combination of Asian Americans weren't here since pre-United States of America.
You guys have unfortunately had a couple hundred years start
and
due
also
to
China,
slavery.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things. It's like, I'm salty about it. I hate that we're doing this just because China is a giant market and we're trying our damnedest to appeal to them. But also I'm super happy it's happening and I hope it keeps going on. Right.
Yeah. It's nice to see a more diverse like platform of storytellers, because the more exposure people have, like the more educated people are to another person's experience and the more empathetic we become as people.
But if I watch this same movie another 4 times, I'm going to be like, all right, we got to tell a different story.
Yeah. I think what makes it interesting, I haven't seen Crazy Rich Asians, so I can't speak to that, but like there's similar themes of intergenerational trauma in Everywhere, as well as in Turning Red. But I think they come at it from different perspectives because the characters are, you know, at different stages,
different points in their life.
Yeah. Turning Red is a lot more about like figuring out how the fuck do I cope with puberty while also dealing with, you know, familial bonds versus like what's new in America, things like that. I mean, in Canada rather.
Yeah.
And then
shout out to Canada.
Everything Everywhere All at Once is a little bit more about like because they're told from like the perspective of a child in Turning Red, and in this movie it's told from the perspective of the mother, who is slowly realizing that like all of her choices in life have led her to basically ruin, and not really even because she like was like, I'm gonna shoot for the stars and if I crash whatever. It's just more like a lot of kind of mediocre choices have led to her being like, fuck, what have I done with my life?
Right. All these things I could have been, only to realize it's like, hey, no, none of that really matters. And this is what I am and what I should be. Right.
Also, you know, raccoon parodies of Ratatouille and hot dog fingers.
Right.
To make things make more sense, I'll just give a brief summary of the plot for the listeners who haven't gotten
Nothing matters, Gibby.
Okay. But because nothing matters, we can make it matter, Bo.
Proceed.
Okay. So basically, the film centers around Evelyn, who is a middle-aged owner of a laundromat. She and her husband Waymond are first-generation Chinese-American immigrants. They've got a daughter whose name is Joy. and kind of everything's falling apart. Like, she can't really accept that her daughter's lesbian. They're getting divorced, but he's a really sweet guy, and he's just like, okay, all right, maybe this will make things right. The laundromat basically is going to shit to the IRS. And Jamie Lee Curtis, who, shout out to Jamie Lee Curtis, she fucking rules.
Shout out to Jamie Lee Curtis. They shoved her in this movie everywhere she would fit.
As the IRS inspector, who's pursuing them, as well as having James Hong, who is in every movie ever.
Shout out
The
to
man's
James
been
Hong.
James Hong plays Gong Gong, the grandfather, who has been, no joke, he's got a list of like filmography that goes on for miles. The man has been working since he was like 15 or earlier, and he's 90 and still like acting. It's pretty incredible.
Shout out to Michelle Yeoh.
And
Most
Michelle
underrated
Yeoh.
lady in Kung Fu.
She rules. She rules. But anyways, the whole thing gets going when Evelyn finds out that there's parallel universes, and they need her as the most mediocre version of herself across all the parallel universes to be the base template to essentially help them save the entirety of the multiverse. The multiverse from one universe destroying force, who turns out to be her daughter from a different multiverse sort of thing.
By the way, spoilers.
Yeah, a little late. But look,
I know we don't have to say it every time, but I'm gonna say it every time. By the way,
well,
spoilers.
The whole thing with spoilers in movies is that a movie can still be really good, even if it's spoiled, because you can. It's at the most 3.5 hours of content and all that. I'm never that worried about movie spoilers. I will not spoil TV for people because that's such a bigger time investment.
Fair enough.
There.
It's funny because it's funny talking about spoilers because there have been interviews and with the cast and directors of this movie for the last couple weeks, and I have like a bunch of NPR podcasts on my feed, and the main one that showed up I think last week from when we're recording this is it's like everything on the bagel. Blah 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 about the directors. I'm like, that's a fucking weird title. And then I sit down and watch the movie. I'm like, those assholes spoiled the joke. Hey,
yeah, essentially, with the corresponding like trend of multiverses across media for the past several years, their explanation is to basically make the giant black hole that destroys everything that the villain is trying to like prop up into a bagel, and this bagel's got everything on it, literally everything.
Your hopes and dreams, some salt, paprika, emotions of children,
a little bit of toasted sesame,
cream fucking cheese, bro.
the ennui for the person you could have been.
Oh yeah,
and even some locks if you're a good boy.
Before we talk about what we think about the plot, I want to talk about like the bells and whistles of the movie.
Yeah.
Specifically the sound design and the music direction.
Oh yeah.
Dude, the music direction in this movie is so good.
Oh, tell me more about it.
It seems like they let the director or the music director, and I apologize, I don't know their names.
Musical score composed by Sun Lux. Yep, and then those guys collected music and featured music from some pretty big fucking names.
Yeah, you could really feel it because the overall theme of this movie, not in terms of the story, but in terms of its like dressing, its set dressing, is taking a lot of stereotypical stuff, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. A lot of stuff that you see everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Familiar and
yeah. Generic plots. There it is. A lot of genericies from everything and kind of just smashing it together.
Yep.
And then like tweaking it just a little bit. Like one of my favorite parts is when Waymond is going into kung fu mode.
Yeah.
And he's eating the chapstick, and you hear the dun 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 dun. dun.
Fucking Smoke on the Water.
Yeah, Smoke on the Water, but it's played with Chinese string instruments as opposed to like an electric. And it's like, oh, dude. They have another part that stuck out to me near the end of the film. It's peak. It's like one of the last big fight scenes.
Yeah.
When Evelyn has like LOL opened her third eye and she puts the googly eye in the middle of her forehead. And she's going up the stairs, and the mob of no names. I started calling them the Cult of the Bagel. I don't know why they exist, but they're there. The Cult of the Bagel is like jumping at her and they're screaming, but like the vocal audio is cut out and it's just like the music playing.
Yeah.
And they make the violins playing in the background sound like people wailing. And then it goes into like the music once it cuts away from them and cuts to a wider angle. And I'm like, dude, this shit is, I feel like this movie was so meticulously put together and you can really feel it.
Let me throw you some names just to show musically who played a part in this.
Okay.
So Mitski is a pretty popular, I think, indie musician.
Mhm.
David Byrne from the Talking Heads, the lead singer and songwriter. Randy Newman, basically Mr. Disney Pixar for music. And motherfucking Andre 3000 plays the flute at some point in the score. How
I like
cool
how they gave him
is that?
billing for that. It's like, yeah, also Andre 3000 played the flute.
The Wikipedia article directly says a flute playing Andre 3000. We haven't had an Outkast
Stupid.
album in years because my man's just been learning the flute this whole time.
I do think that's what stood out to me the most, though.
Mhm.
Just how they let the music not dictate the emotions through the emotion, but
Yeah.
every time you heard something, it felt super accurate to what was going on screen. It felt like, as opposed to here's our John Williams ripoff music, right? That you kind of sort of get in a lot of films now.
Yeah.
Here's our, and here, it's the sad part of the movie, so it's really quiet violins, and it's the exciting part, so it's horns and timpani, bum 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 bum. Every piece of the sound design sounded like articulate, right? It just sounded like it was meant to be there, and it was placed there very delicately.
It makes a lot of sense because Studio A24, the ones that produced the film.
Man's got the wiki up. He's out here spitting knowledge.
No. This I just knew, because Studio A24 has really come into prominence in the last 5-10 years.
Mhm.
They've made a lot of art house movies, and for a lot of their existence, that can often create something that's kind of pretentious. You still have a lot of really quality stuff and some really impressive stuff because they pick out the right directors and the right producers and the whole teams that go off and get really specific with all of the choices that they make creatively. It's just that a lot of the time with some of the things that I've watched from them, it does kind of hit that oh, aren't we so clever? Aren't we just the most incredible cinematic minds of the day? But sometimes when you get the right, people on a program, you can still make a lot of quality stories that you can look at the details later and say, holy shit, this is the finest woven cross stitch right here. The level of detail, while also having the level of heart behind it, is really incredible. Like some of the things that I've seen from them that I liked, they made Minari, which came out in 2020, the story of the Korean immigrants that become the farmers in Arkansas. They made Uncut Gems, which every dad in America thought was the greatest movie of all
Right.
time.
Yeah.
These are the dudes that made both Hereditary and Midsummer. Like, for all of their stuff that gets added to the Criterion collection, where people go, oh, those guys who are just trying to make stuff that's too smart for you. They
Right.
also come out with stories that have genuine, like, heart and story behind them.
Right.
You know, with characters that you can understand. Sometimes they make the Green Knight, and I think they're just kind of jerking themselves off. But
Look at this thing we can write.
look at us, we've done the King Arthur story, and we won't explain any of the plot to you. But I think of all the ones I've seen from them, this is the one that had like the most genuine people behind it.
Yeah.
You know, with what they wanted to accomplish and what they wanted to write, not just for the purposes of like being known as the smart man's film studio, but being known as like, shit, we just did some awesome stuff. We just made a superhero movie, and it was better than your superhero movie, Disney.
Right. We made a sci-fi flick that isn't contrived and isn't just Star Wars with different branding.
Exactly right there. So like with all the multiverse movies and films and properties, from like
Mhm.
Doctor Strange to Spider-Verse to Rick and Morty,
Mhm.
like what do you think sets this one apart from those?
Absolutely nothing, and that's the point.
Like,
No, seriously, that's the point. It's and I've heard this in interviews with the directors. The point was, hey, what if we just literally ripped everything off and put it in one movie?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I think it works, man.
Yeah.
Like it very easily wears what it's copying on its sleeve. Here's our 80s sci-fi movie that's filmed in the deserts of California in a really bad truck with like lights all over it. Here's our kung fu. Here's our really generic kung fu flick, our Bruce Lee parallel story, because we have her be basically Michelle Yeoh in real life,
Yeah.
except her Sifu is there just in her outfit
Yeah.
at a movie premiere. Why is that? Fuck you. You know what I mean? I think it wears all those things, and I think it wears them all well.
Mhm.
And it puts on a narrative that's purposefully jarring, right?
Yeah.
Like it undercuts itself a lot, but it means to. It's not like kind of like how I don't want to say this one, but because this is a movie the internet always uses when talking about this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like Hercules is kind of a mess of a movie.
Hercules
Right.
is a hot
Yeah,
mess.
Disney's Hercules.
But it's hot.
Yeah, right. Disney's Hercules is a hot mess of a movie that just kind of works
Yeah.
on accident. If
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest.
It's two movies smashed into one that somehow works for some people.
Right. This Everything Everywhere All at Once is 2 or 3 movies smashed together with a bunch of YouTube clips.
Yeah.
And it's on purpose. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
The only time I've seen something like as frenetic as this is when I've seen like movies about people with like schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Like, and that's being done to like make you feel, uncomfortable in a lot of cases. Like there was this animated movie from about 10 years ago called It's Such a Beautiful Day Outside. And watching that as a 16-year-old versus as like a 26-year-old, I was just like, oh, okay, yep, you did it. You're right. I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
But like watching a movie that intentionally, kind of throws you off kilter now, I can see a lot of the machinations at work, and I can appreciate that sort of thing so much more.
Yeah.
I think the thing that really makes it click is that it is all of those things. It's got the sci-fi, it's got the comedy, it's got the superhero action, kung fu stuff, But at the center of it, for as much focus as there is on Evelyn and there is on Joy, like kind of hanging in the background for a lot of it is Waymond, the loyal, husband, and he's
Is it
just
actually
been-
written Waymond? Is it not
It is-
Raymond?
It is actually Waymond with
Understood.
a W. Yep.
Sweet.
The whole thing is that, like, when it comes to the climax during like the biggest action scene of like villain versus hero, he just goes, "Can we just stop for a second?
Right.
Look, man, you're just gonna do this forever, and you're gonna kill each other, and things are bad. And yeah, I get it. You think nothing matters, and it's true. You found the bagel. The secret of the bagel is that nothing matters. Cool. Be fucking nice,
Yeah.
please. It's the only way this is going to work." The whole thing is just that, like, they start to realize that, yeah, the purpose was kind of out there in the first place of, like, if nothing matters, then we have to make things matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is just, like, the most positive nihilism that you can possibly have out there. And I kind of love it.
A subtle thing they did through the narrative, and I like that it's subtle because I hate it. I would hate it if they like shoved it down your throat.
Yeah.
Is there's a quote from BioShock Infinite, which also addresses a multiverse. BioShock Infinite's a good game. Go play that.
It is a good game. Also, go play the first BioShock. Don't bother with BioShock 2.
Don't play the first BioShock. It's scary. But BioShock Infinite talks about how there are things that are going to happen and things that could happen, right?
Yeah.
And they constants and variables, right? And in terms of the multiverse, right, there are always constants and variables. And I like that they made it a point that Waymond was one of the few constants, right?
Yeah.
The only time he isn't is in the Hot Dog Fingers universe and the Raccoonatui universe.
Yeah.
Those are the only because those are joke universes, right?
Exactly. Like where you have Michelle Yeoh and Jamie
also the
Lee
opera
Curtis.
singer one, if I remember correctly. But we don't really dig into that one, so we don't know.
That's
if he was
true.
Hanging
That's
out in the
true.
back.
Yeah. Where we have Jamie and Michelle, like
Old
kind of having
lesbian
this-
couple
with hot dog fingers that don't work, so
play
they use their
pianos with
feet.
toes.
I think the spirit of him kind of lives on and like impacts those universes as well.
I like to
even
think
if
he's like
not.
slightly off screen.
Maybe.
Just being a happy dude.
Maybe. I love that, like, the whole time, the only time that he doesn't have that, kind of like, I have no idea what's going on, but I just want things to be good, is when he essentially gets mind jacked by the badass version
Alpha
of him,
Waymond.
who's just like, go, kill, do the things.
Yeah.
I've got the skills. Look at my kung fu and everything. Like, versus every other version of him is either, sad that they didn't get to be with Evelyn, or they're right there beside Evelyn.
Yeah.
Like,
But
that constant's nice.
It's nice to see, we always get the, yes, my partner grounds me, right?
Mhm.
And it's nice to see the male play that role and once
Yeah.
as opposed to the female. And another thing on that same note, it's nice that I like that Evelyn being a woman isn't like the point of the movie. Like you can make Evelyn a dad and then make Joy his son, and this movie would basically work the same.
Yeah, there's less focus on them being women overall, and like it's more on the focus of like them being immigrants and trying to live up to their own expectations, their parents' expectations, and their children's expectations, as well as dealing with a society that like still years on doesn't feel like home to you.
Yeah.
Like I like that we are exploring that, because like thinking about how we grew up in Auburn with so many people from all over the
Grew
world.
up with a lot of Korean kids.
We grew up with a lot of Korean kids, a lot of Chinese kids, a lot of Indian kids, like a lot of people from a lot of places. And although the experiences are different, a lot of them will deal with the exact same things that, you know, the characters in this movie deal with, where it's just like, I'm your dad. I'm coming to visit. You're going to have to put up with me because that's the way it is. And you're a disappointment, as well as like, look, Mom, you gotta come to terms with this. Just tell Grandpa I'm a lesbian. Like, come on, man. Like,
also make the same movie with gay men, you cowards.
Make it. Also, make it different, but make the same movie.
Yeah, make it a fourth time. I'll be pissed off, but I'll still enjoy it. Damn it!
I want the same thing but different. That's the whole thing. That's why we like things. But I do enjoy the fact that it being told from the perspective of the person that's in the middle of that. Like, because sometimes we put so much pressure on parents to get with it immediately without realizing that they're coming from a completely different upbringing on the other side of the world. And there's a lot of moments where it's just like, come on, man, get with it, get with the times. But at the same moment, you have to realize, like, a lot of times people forget that your parents are people too, and they've been dealing with being alive a lot longer than you have.
Right. All the nonsense you could put up with. And that's especially true. I'm also from a first generation home, if we haven't said yet. I'm first generation American. Parents are straight up from the other side of the planet. But shout outs to my mom. But
shout out to Miss Papula. Woo!
But I think the idea of the immigrant versus their non-immigrant children is always, I think that's a timeless and specifically American story that's always told very, very well.
Like can like for your level of comfort, like, can you tell like some of the things that you related to?
I have tattoos, and I've told my mom I have tattoos for the first time 4 times now, and she screamed at me every time. I don't wear short sleeve shirts around my mother.
Oh, that's just inconvenient.
I mean, whatever. I got a lot of breezy shirts.
True.
And it was harder. It was much harder during my teen years. Than it has been as an adult. Just because during your teen years, you're like competent enough to talk to your parents, but not competent enough to know what you're talking about.
Full of fucking rage.
Yeah, exactly. And because that all happened, now me and my mom are homies, and I can literally talk to her about anything, right? But the teen years are hard for any parent, but I know having that cultural boundary made it especially hard on a little hard on me, but especially hard on my mom.
And you're playing on hard mode if you also get into anime as well.
Well, that was a non-factor for me. I can't speak on my little brother, but that was a non-factor for me. As a first generation American, one of the things that like spoke to me the most, I think this reads weird if you didn't grow up in a house like this, but when they're speaking Chinese and then they hard pivot into English, then go back into Chinese over and over again. I understand that for a very typical American, that's hard to keep up with. For me, I'm like, my mom still does this. Like, there are days when I'll call my mom, I'll be like, hello. She's like, hello. And then just all Yoruba the whole time. And it's like, you either keep up with it or you don't.
Do you?
Most of the time. My auntie doesn't speak. My mom calls it pidgin English. So where you speak like your native language, but have like
Yeah.
English words sprinkled into it, like this movie did, right? That's how that was their basic Chinese, except for the granddad, he never spoke like this.
Yeah.
But my grand aunt doesn't do that. It's like all the one language, and I'm like, I have no idea what she just said. I know like 3 words.
What? 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 What?
No, this movie rules.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Like it balances everything. Like obviously, it sounds like it could veer into cheesiness of the message, like where it's like, surprise, the power was love the whole time. It's like the lamest kid in Captain Planet. Like,
Right.
oh, I got fire, I got wind, I got heart. But
What the
like,
fuck are you gonna do with heart, dude?
because give him heart disease, that's what.
Oh,
No, but I feel like this movie does everything in the right proportion
doesn't do
to
it everywhere.
avoid not everywhere, but like for the purpose of the message. However, I
Mhm.
think it does it in the right proportion to be able to make it feel genuine and real and not feel contrived, you know?
So
Like,
Gibby,
yeah.
I'm gonna interrupt you. Can I
Yeah.
be completely honest with you?
Yeah.
This is the best movie in a long time. This is the best movie in the last few years that I've watched that I did not like.
You know what? I respect.
Yeah.
I very much respect your ability to say this isn't for me, but it's good.
And that's exactly it, right? So
That's
where
not
it-
something that everybody can do.
It's objectively a good film.
Yes.
I think that's undeniable. But what I don't like, the things I don't like are not the plot. I'll say this: the plot structure. I am a person of tell me the story, tell me the one story, and just fucking do it. Right. So
one direct story told very well.
Yeah. So the constantly pulling from other universes in order to tell like jokes. Right.
Yeah.
Be like, haha, we pull from this one and everybody has Sasha's fingers. We pull from this one and she's like a pizza guy. And then we also use that universe to undercut what's going on in the scene. I find it very distracting
That's reasonable.
because, like I said, I called them the cult of the bagel. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, if all this shit is happening, so this is where the alpha guy get their goons. Why are these people? Why is Jamie Lee Curtis like bashing people over the head and stapling circles to her face? Right. I get very distracted by that. I also don't like our main villain is a cartoon character
I get that.
style trope from sci-fi. A lot of sci-fi does, not a lot. The only example I could think of off the top of my head is Q, if you're familiar with Star Trek.
Not as much as I should be.
Yeah, watch The Next Generation. It's very good. But it's basically the question of what happens if you give somebody with a human temperament omniscience and
Yeah.
unlimited power. Turns out they're kind of a dick. And they just kind of do what they want. Like as good as a scene as it was, I cannot stand the scene where it's the villain reveal. It's like, it was
Yeah.
Joy the whole time. And she's running at this dude and he explodes into confetti. And now she's in a different costume. And she jumped at this guy. Oh, damn, it's a DDT.
Yeah.
Bang, this dude's dead. And he boofs. She got shot. LOL, it's organic ketchup. That entire time I was like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah. You're not a fan of like when it feels like the filmmakers are just trying to show off for the purposes.
No,
of
I
showing
don't
off.
I don't like if you set your world if you set your like plot in a serious world. I don't like it when like your main villain is like a cartoon character, right? Like
I
she
get
showed
that.
up and I was like, oh, she's a Looney Tune.
You know, the funny thing is, you're saying all this, and I'm saying to myself at the same time, this is why he likes Into the Spider-Verse, where where it's a multiversal movie, except basically the whole story happens in one place.
They pull
and
everybody
don't
to the
flip.
one place, and that's where it takes place.
Yeah, they've got a lot of people who pour into one place. Also, the villain may be cartoonishly proportioned, but he's extremely serious.
Right, and it's just one dude, right? It's not...
Episode 372 of Why We Love Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, but like it's not Spider-Verse is... Yeah, I guess that's the most recent, like, good multiverse thing. Suck a
Yeah.
dick, Loki. But...
Yeah. I mean, it's not like people are singing the praises of Doctor Strange or... And
The little girl is traumatized because she saw a bee. That movie could go fuck itself. But
and then Rick and Morty is just so up its own ass that it's just not.
It's not Rick and Morty. It's Rick
interesting.
and Morty's fans.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think it's also Rick and Morty.
No, you can tell when Dan Harmon doesn't like writing something anymore.
And Justin
You get-
Roiland's like, yes, feed me the money. That's mean. I don't know those guys.
But back on our thing.
But that being said, no, this movie isn't for me. Because of those things, right?
Yeah.
Because of, again, it does a much better job than other movies would do trying to do the same thing.
Multiverses are fucking hard.
They are. And I think while this movie does a really good job of like pulling the overall narrative together, I think that type of storytelling just isn't for me personally.
I very much get it. Like, it took me, a few minutes once things got really rolling to get into it. It's a lot to hang on to. It kind of feels like a buck and bronco at times.
Yeah.
And it's very easy with a movie like this to feel overwhelmed and
Yes.
just be like, random stuff is happening for the sake of random stuff. It's tough sometimes to step back and say, okay, is this movie accomplishing what it wanted to do and what it set out to do? Because there's a difference, like with what you're saying, between I like this and I'm enjoying the experience and the filmmakers accomplished what they want to accomplish. For example, I don't like Moulin Rouge. I have a really hard time watching it because it's so overwhelming and Baz Luhrmann's style can be so in your face at
You're talking
times.
Moulin Rouge, the film, not the stage
film.
play. Yeah.
I bet I would really like the stage play because it's the difference between live theater and cinematography
Right.
of like how something's presented. But I just find it to be so much in my face at once that I have a hard time getting into it. And it's taken years for me to realize Moulin Rouge is a very good film.
Yeah.
And I am just, for all my love of musicals and everything, I am not the intended audience, and that's okay.
Yeah,
It can be very good separate of me. That doesn't mean all of Baz Luhrmann's films are good. I will still say that I think his Romeo and Juliet is stupid and
Suck a
that
dick, Baz.
and I
Can't
think
do Shakespeare, asshole.
and that The Great Gatsby will never be good in
Wait.
like,
DiCaprio,
film,
Great Gatsby?
in like any film presentation.
I'm
because
like
they're-
one of 4 people who really likes that movie. Nobody likes that movie, but I'm always in the corner like, I thought it was pretty cool.
it's the difference of I like this, but I understand why people objectively think it's not well made.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Maybe I just don't like
Yeah.
The Great Gatsby, and maybe that's my problem.
Oh, I like that.
Like
I like that book. It was my favorite book in high school.
I'm saying this to the man who fucking played Gatsby on stage and killed it.
Yeah, I did that once.
Yeah, you
but-
take that credit, man.
No,
you take
I
that
don't-
credit.
I
yeah,
don't want it.
Yeah, you're
No.
very good.
No, take
You're
it back.
very good at
Oh,
things.
stop. Fuck.
Anyway, back to our silly. Let's ground ourselves with a fun fact
Okay.
about Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Sidebar, they're not the first person to do the everything bagel.
Okay, all right.
No,
yeah,
I have to get this out. When they
All
were
right,
like,
fine.
oh yeah, all of reality on a bagel. I'm like, fucking Brennan Lee Mulligan did it on his fucking New York D&D game. I was like, hey, you can't do that. Yeah, they can. Like, all right, sorry.
If we started dinging people for all the ideas that Brennan Lee Mulligan came up with first, we'd be in trouble.
Well, I'm not having it. I solved your labyrinth, Puzzle Master. The Minotaurs escaped, and you're gonna get the horns, buddy.
Anyways, the fun fact is that not only is Randy Newman involved in our scoring and music, he's also the voice of Raccacoonie from from the Ratatouille.
and on that note, this has been this episode of the Liberal Artist Podcast, The Boys Edition.
The Boys, just as chaotic as you might assume it would be.
Yeah. An episode completely calm and not too far from the norm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You gotta get in there and talk about the artistic intent. You gotta talk about the immigrant experience. Yeah. You gotta talk about the loving bond between mother and daughter who don't always understand each other, but they're gonna go off and try to love each other anyway. Yeah.
Join us next time when we book the dream match between Randy Savage and Michelle Yeoh. Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favorite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodhi Opapula, Kaylee Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at LibArtistsPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to Whitehot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
Can I interrupt you again?
Yeah, absolutely. This whole thing is undercutting
Dude,
because that's what the movie is.
This doesn't even have to go in the episode, bro. There's like a whole family of ducks chilling right outside my window right now.
You think I'm not going to put that in the episode?
I'm about to do pause the episode. I got bread. They need food.
Well, bread's actually not that good for their digestive system.
Oh, thank you for telling me that, because I was totally about to go feed them, man.
Yeah, there's specific foods and seeds that are better for them. I'm gonna make this our stinger. That's what I'm going to do.
You hear that, kids? That's a lesson from the dudes. Don't feed ducks bread. It's bad for them.